Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Career Personality Assessment Interpreting Your Jungian Type webinar. My name is Caitlin Hennessy, and I'm the Program Coordinator here at Global Connections. Can everyone just let me know if you can see and hear me? You should also see a title slide on the screen. And you can do that by just going in the chat. All right, great. Thank you. So this evening presenting is Chris Miller. He is the Washington State University Global Campus Career Counselor, and he is also a COOG himself. He has a master's degree from WSU. And as some of you are already doing, please do use that chat box throughout the evening to interact as well as submit questions to Chris. And you can put your questions in the chat box at any point. I'll make sure to take note of them and get them to Chris during the Q&A. If you do have any technological problems, please do let me know and I'll do my best to help you this evening. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris now. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. There I am. Thanks so much for the introduction. As Caitlin said, we're talking about our Jungian types tonight, our commonly referred to as our Myers-Briggs types, our MBTI four-letter types. It should take probably about 35 to 40 minutes, I would guess. And at one point during the webinar, I will ask you if you're interested to enter your four-letter type into the chat box so I can provide you more information about your Jungian type and specifically how that relates to career development and how that relates to the world of work. And so we'll go ahead and get started. Save some bandwidth here. Okay. So I always start off my webinars with just a brief look at the career development process. And tonight, usually with the topics we have, we're in a few different areas. I would say we are mainly in the Know Yourself section tonight because looking at such a broad topic as personality and for this career development personality, it's such a broad topic and it's going to really hit on, values, interests, strengths, traits, and ambitions. Those are all listed in the Know Yourself section. So, your personality is made up of a lot of different things, obviously, and you'll draw from kind of those areas that will help define, what your personality is and how this Myers-Briggs type sees you. So I'm going to go over all 16 types briefly, and then at one point, like I said, I'll ask for your four-letter type if you want to offer it, and I will provide more information about that specific one. So limitations with any career assessments, and these come from Richard Bowles, who is the author of What Color is Your Parachute?, updated every year. And this is specifically from the companion website, thejobhuntersbible.com. And some of the limitations he talks about is, any assessment you take, none of them can fully measure you. It's important to let intuition be your guide when you're filling out these assessments, and especially if you're an N on the Myers-Briggs scale. Try not to predetermine how you want the test to turn out. You are looking for clues and suggestions, and it's important to try out several different ones. And obviously there are assessment types for different career development types of assessment, so interests, skills, values, tonight personality. So even within each one, it's important to try different ones if you are looking at getting a battery of your career development. Some limitations specific to the MBTI. It should be used as a general understanding of personality in relation to career development. It's not a good assessment of general personality. There's an assessment that I listed. It's commonly referred to as the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. I would say it's probably regarded as the best assessment of this broad idea, ambiguous idea of what is personality and how to measure it. But that test has hundreds of questions, and its purpose is to root out abnormal psychology, to root out psychopathology. So it's not really something you would take as someone in the general population trying to find out about your personality. It wouldn't be for that. MBTI is good for understanding and clarifying specific preferences. It's not something to tell you what you're good at. It's not about traits. It's about types, so how you clearly prefer one thing or the other, but not what you're good at. And it's helpful for possible links to job, families, and occupations. It is not strongly supported as a career exploration tool, but in conjunction with like a strong interest inventory, an assessment of interest and skills, it can be really helpful to your career exploration. So it's obviously popular in the business sector and in academia. The MBTI exhibits significant psychometric deficiencies, including poor validity and reliability. So, it's not really measuring what it purports to, that being personality. And the most important thing, I think, is that it could give you different results on different occasions that you take it within an insignificant time span. And I know one study I saw said that really in a 6-month span, if you retake it, you could get a different type. I think there was like even a 50% chance that people in that group had a different type. So I found, for me personally, my type has not changed over the years, and a lot of people tell me that theirs haven't, but I'm just telling you from what the research says, it has issues. Okay. So now I'm going to go over the 16 different types, and they have these titles to explain, just to kind of give you a nice little synopsis of what each type is. You will see from different sources different names for these types. So it kind of depends on the source that you're using. This is the one that I like the best. So this is where I'll briefly go over all 16 types. And then we'll talk about these dichotomies and a little bit about Myers-Briggs, where this comes from, and these Carl Jungian types. So ISTJ is known as the inspector, and that type would be serious and quiet, interested in security and peaceful living, extremely thorough and responsible and dependable. Well-developed powers of concentration, usually interested in supporting and promoting traditions and establishments. ISTP is the operator, quiet and reserved, interested in how and why things work, excellent skills with mechanical things, often risk takers who they live for the moment, usually interested in and talented at extreme sports, loyal to their peers and to their internal value system, but not overly concerned with respecting laws and rules. ISFJ, the protector, quiet, kind, and conscientious, can be depended on to follow through, usually puts the needs of others above their own needs, stable and practical. They value security and traditions, well-developed sense of space and function. ISFP is the composer, quiet, serious, sensitive, and kind, do not like conflict, not likely to do things which may generate conflict, loyal and faithful, extremely well-developed senses and aesthetic appreciation for beauty. INFJ, the counselor, quietly forceful, original and sensitive, tend to stick to things until they are done, extremely intuitive about people and concerned for their feelings, well-developed value systems, which they strictly adhere to, well-respected for their perseverance in doing the right thing. INFP is the healer, quiet, reflective, and idealistic, interested in serving humanity, well-developed value system, which they strive to live in accordance with, and extremely loyal, adaptable and laid back unless a strongly held value is threatened. INTJ is the mastermind, independent, original, analytical, and determined, have an exceptional ability to turn theories into solid plans of action, highly value knowledge, competence, and structure, driven to derive meaning from their visions. INTP is the architect, Logical, original, creative thinkers can become very excited about theories and ideas, exceptionally capable and driven to turn theories into clear understandings, highly value knowledge, competence, and logic. The promoter is ESTP, friendly, adaptable, action-oriented, doers who are focused on immediate results, living in the here and now. They are risk takers who live fast-paced lifestyles, impatient with long explanations, extremely loyal to peers, but not usually respectful of laws and rules if they get in the way. So the promoter doesn't like me going through all of these. ESTJ, the supervisor, practical, traditional, and organized, likely to be athletic, not interested in theory or abstraction unless they see the practical application, have clear visions of the way things should be, loyal, and hardworking. The performer, people-oriented and fun-loving, they make things more fun for others by their enjoyment, living for the moment, they love new experiences, they dislike theory and impersonal analysis, interested in serving others. The provider is ESFJ, warm-hearted, popular, and conscientious, tend to put the needs of others over their own needs, feel strong sense of responsibility and duty, value traditions and security, interested in serving others. ENFP is the champion, enthusiastic, idealistic, and creative, able to do almost anything that interests them, great people skills, need to live life in accordance with their inner values, excited by new ideas but bored with details. ENFJ is the teacher, popular and sensitive with outstanding people skills, externally focused with real concern for how others think and feel, usually dislike being alone. They see everything from the human angle and dislike impersonal analysis. ENTP is the inventor, creative, resourceful, and intellectually quick, good at a broad range of things, enjoy debating issues, and may be into one-upsmanship. They get very excited about new ideas and projects, but may neglect the more routine aspects of life. And lastly, the field marshal is ENTJ. Assertive and outspoken, they are driven to lead, excellent ability to understand difficult organizational problems and create solid solutions. Intelligent, well-informed, they usually excel at public speaking. So that is a brief little snapshot of all 16 types. And we will talk a little bit more about these dichotomies now. So on these spectrums of introversion versus extroversion, sensing versus intuiting, judging versus perceiving, thinking versus feeling. So what do these mean exactly? Because I know the most widely, or I should say easily confused one would be introversion versus extroversion, because people think of it kind of as, are you outgoing or are you reserved? And it's more than that. And a lot of people who seem extroverted are introverts, and a lot of people who are introverts or who seem introverted could actually be extroverted, depending on your understanding of what this means. So what does it mean? Extroversion and introversion dichotomy is how we interact with the world, where we prefer to focus our attention, internally versus externally, and also where we derive energy, where we derive our energy from. So extroverts are energized by being with people. They like being the center of attention. They act and then think. Easy to read. They talk more than they listen. They communicate with enthusiasm. They are gregarious, enthusiastic, initiators, expressive, and auditory. Whereas introverts, on the dichotomy here, are energized by time alone, avoid being the center of attention. They think and then act. They are more private, and they share personal information with few. Listen more, keep enthusiasm to themselves, and prefer depth to breadth. They are described as intimate, quiet, receptive, contained, and visual. On the sensing versus intuiting spectrum, so what is that? One is how we take in and how we process information. So sensors trust what is certain and concrete, like new ideas if they have a practical application, value realism and common sense, like to use and hone established skills, and tend to be specific and literal, present information in a step-by-step manner. They are concrete. These, again, sensors are concrete, realistic, pragmatic, experiential, and traditional. Intuitors, on the other hand, trust inspiration and inference, like new ideas and concepts for their own sake. Value imagination, innovation, like to learn new skills and get bored easily after mastery. Tend to be general and figurative, and are oriented toward the future. They are known as being abstract, imaginative, intellectual, theoretical, and original. Now, what is judging and perceiving? Judgers, so what is it? It's how we prefer to live, structured versus spontaneous, how we orient ourselves to the external world. Judgers are happiest after decisions have been made, have a work ethic, work first, play later, set goals and work toward achieving them on time, prefer knowing what they're getting into, are product oriented, and see time as a finite resource and take deadlines very seriously. They are stress avoiders, systematic, scheduled, planning, and methodical. On the other hand, perceivers are happiest leaving options open, having a play ethic, enjoy now, finish the job later. Change goals as new information becomes available. They are adapting to new situations, derive satisfaction from starting projects, see time as a renewable resource, and deadlines as elastic. They are polyactive, which means stress facilitated, enjoy pressure, accomplish as much in the last minute rush. They're casual, spontaneous, open-ended, and emergent, which means they trust that solutions will emerge from the process and proceed without plans. Lastly, on the sensing, intuiting spectrum here, this is how we take in and process information also. Oh, no, that was that one. I'm doing thinking versus feeling. I almost lost myself there. Thinking versus feeling. That's the way we make decisions or come to conclusions. That makes a lot more sense. Thinkers step back and apply impersonal analysis to problems. They value logic, justice, and fairness, one standard for all. Naturally see flaws and tend to be critical. May be seen as heartless, insensitive, or uncaring. More important to be truthful than tactful, motivated by a desire to achieve and accomplish. They are known as being critical, tough, questioning, logical, and reasonable. Feelers, on the other hand, step forward, consider effective actions on others. They value empathy and harmony, like to please others and show appreciation. May be seen as illogical, important to be both truthful and tactful, and are motivated by the desire to be appreciated. They are accepting, tender, accommodating, affective, so personal feeling, relying on values, and also compassionate. So that's a look at the dichotomies of how this all comes together. And I will share just a little bit about the background of it, the history of it also. And this would be a good time. If you are interested, you can put your type, your 4-letter type there into the chat box. And after I talk about the background, then I'll share some about each specific one for those who are interested. So the MBTI was constructed by Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers. That's how it gets the Myers-Briggs name. It emphasizes that we all have specific preferences in the way we construe our experiences, and that these underlie our interests, needs, values, and motivation. Catherine Cooks began her research into personality in 1917. Upon meeting her future son-in-law, she observed marked differences between his personality and that of other family members, which I think is really interesting. And I don't know what that means. I haven't looked into it deeply enough, so I don't know if she thought that she had a wacky family and he was he was the outlier, or if like he was wacky and that she figured that they had a more typical family. So she embarked on a project of reading biographies, and subsequently developed a a typology wherein she proposed 4 temperaments: meditative or thoughtful, spontaneous, executive, and social. And then Carl Jung's book of psychological types comes out in 1921, but was in 1923 it was published in English, and that's when it was became available to Catherine Briggs. And she saw that that Jung's theory was similar to hers, but that Jung's went far beyond her own. And so over the next 20 years, she and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers, did more research and really expanded, their thought on personality. And so it was 20 years later. It was I believe it was during World War II. So about 1944, I think, is when they published theirs, and then the MBTI came out, I think, about 12 years later. So over 60 years we've been using this for, for career exploration, for some, for team building, for introspection. And so it's really an interesting tool in how it's kind of developed over time and what it's been used for. And also we have this population distribution here is interesting. It shows throughout the United States what is the prevalence of each type. And so you'll see that some are much more common, and I think that's probably because on these dichotomies some are more related than others. So you'll see things like the ISFJ and the ESFJ take up a big chunk of the population, whereas things like ENTJ or INFJ are a very small part of the population. And I think that's interesting. So we will look now at some specific types. And I will pop over to the chat box here. And it'll take me a second to pull these up. Okay. So the first one I see is ISFJ, and I have 16 large folders, so let me pull these up. Okay, ISFJs at work. What you might notice first about the ISFJs, they are warm, friendly, good-natured, unassuming, sensitive to others, and good listeners. Yet may also be constrained to not communicate a lot, especially about themselves. They are organized and good at organizing both people and things. For your work style, you prefer to plan the work and be prepared for the snares and obstacles that might be encountered, and are most comfortable getting organized before beginning a project. You're most drawn to work that is helpful and provide a tangible service to others. You want to know specifically what is expected of them. In groups and on teams, you seek to create a non-threatening, supportive environment, generally concerned and involved group members who need time to get to know others and begin to build solid working relationships. Expect everyone to do their share and pull their own weight. ISFJs themselves often do more than their share. They do best when they are recognized for their contributions. During change, they foster change that addresses people's unmet needs and help them to develop and become better people. They value fairness and want change to be fair and have a similar impact on all. And during conflict, they prefer and work best when there's harmony, support, and affirmation. May use gentle humor to try to create harmony. They're very sensitive and may take negative feedback and criticism personally. Under stress may be uncharacteristically pessimistic. Contributions: focus on getting the job done and creating a supportive, positive environment. Show strong loyalty to the organization. Bring stability, calm, organization, structure to projects and departments and teams. You may be experienced as good with detail, patient, thorough, and sometimes picky about details. Communicating indirectly, beating around the bush, concerned that things go well, and sometimes are overly concerned worriers. So that is the ISFJ. I'll pull up some information now about ENFJ. ENFJ, okay. What you might notice first about the ENFJ is that they are enthusiastic and energetic, involved with the people and events around them, often in the center of things and sought out by others. They take interest in others and are easy to relate to, outgoing, naturally engaging, gracious, comfortable, and skilled at working with others. Work style, work interactively, seek to involve others and be facilitative, create and make use of networks to get work done, like things to be organized, workspace, meetings, and written materials, view their work as helpful service to others no matter what they do. In groups and on teams, they prefer a collaborative, comfortable, harmonious work environment where people are included and valued. They create excitement and team spirit. They make things happen, initiate, make proposals, and spawn opportunities. During times of change, they propose and initiate change and are willing to try new approaches. Are aware of and responsive to others' needs and like change to benefit people. May not have a good sense of their own energy limits and become susceptible to burnout. During conflict, have a need for and can create harmony, are tactful, prone to taking things personally even when they aren't meant to be, usually want to address conflicts immediately, may be worn down by a long-term conflict even if it's peripheral. In terms of contributions, ENFJs serve as a catalyst and motivators. They're able to make things happen and keep things happening, garnering resources to support efforts they believe in, seeing things through to completion. May be experienced as decisive, coming to quick conclusions and sometimes deciding too quickly, impatient with others, not as quick to act, eager and exuberant and sometimes are overwhelming with enthusiasm, ideas, or request, promoters of people, values, and causes, and sometimes as single-minded or inflexible regarding their own values or what is best for others. So that is a look at the ENFJs. Okay. ENFP is next. I'll pull that up. FP. All right, ENFP. You might notice first, you are lively and often full of excitement, stimulate activity and get others excited, are expressive, articulate, and communicate a lot, are people-oriented, engaging, and optimistic. In terms of work style, are most drawn to work that has meaning and value for them, which fosters human growth. They are cooperative, natural networkers who do best when they have contact with / stimulation from others. They like challenges and a variety of people and tasks, want to continue to learn and develop. In groups and on teams are catalysts, initiators, and motivators who get things going, energized by starting something new, are fun-loving and bring and stimulate energy and gusto. And during change, they are natural change agents who are energized and captivated by change, often have a let's give it a try / go with the flow outlook, place high priority on changes which make things better for people, and can brainstorm numerous possibilities. During times of conflict, they value interpersonal harmony, emphasize areas of accord and unity, want to consider and incorporate everyone's viewpoint, can help move team toward a consensus. Under stress, may be direct or confrontational, compulsive about small tasks and details. In terms of contributions, visionary and idealistic, want the organization, team, and individuals to pursue the vision and make a difference for people, willing to try new things and take risks, impart a sense of adventure. May be experienced as visionary dreamers and sometimes as appearing to lack direction and focus, generate a lot of alternatives and sometimes is having difficulty deciding among all the alternatives. So they may seem to waffle or appear wishy-washy for that reason. May be experienced as disarming, having ready and plausible explanations for most occurrences. So that is a look at the ENFP at work. And I think that was it for our types here. Make sure here, just as I go back. Okay, good. All right. So some of the strengths, as I said, for team building and group dynamics, professional development, marketing, leadership training, coaching, and couples therapy. Also, if anyone is interested in getting a more detailed report of their type, they can send me an email. I'll have my email address here at the end too, cmiller66@wsu.edu, and I can email you a full report for your type. Yes, you can. You can get a handout. So yeah, it's a great tool for organizational success. Now I'm going to share with you, if you haven't taken the MBTI before the actual assessment, I know we've done this nice free one here to get started. If you're interested in taking it, it is available to WSU students and alumni members. And I will just show you a sample of that briefly so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And the one point here that I did want to highlight was that in the most attractive occupation under job family section, they determine that by the self-selection ratio. And what that is, it's just a statistical term that means looking at the proportion of the type in an occupation divided by the proportion of the type in the general population. So is your specific type more drawn to a given career, compared to everyone in the population? So now I will go ahead and take a little look here at the sample MBTI. So here's what the cover looked like. Here is a sample. And it's very self-explanatory, even more so than the strong. So I won't go into detail into each section. But there is it explains in the beginning what this is for, how it is a helpful tool. And I just highlighted some of that on that previous slide. If I can jump down a little faster here. There we go. So Jane Sample is an ENFP, and that is the one I just read, so we know a little bit more about ENFPs also. And I believe, yeah, so it shows the scales here for the spectrum, these dichotomies. How much clearly for your type are you kind of in a moderate, E or I? So slight, moderate, clear, very clear. So Jane Sample is very clearly an E, very clearly an N, and I would say very clearly perceiving. And then for feeling it versus thinking, slightly feeling. So ENFP in most situations, maybe an ENTP in others. How it affects your choice, we talked about some of that. Career choice, preferred work environment, I talked specifically about that with some. So I know I saw briefly in the chat box there, someone was saying how it makes them want to look at ways to maybe balance out their type, maybe make improvements. But so the MBTI does offer action steps for that. Some things to think about, really. And like I said before, so the ENFP, yep, that sounds like a lot of things I just said. Conveys enthusiasm and energies, willing to consider different alternatives. So challenges and strategies, like I said. Action steps. And so the nice thing about Jane Sample being an ENFP, for the person who is an ENFP, you can just do a Google search for sample MBTI, and you can get a nice little report on ENFP. But again, on those scales, your preferences are going to be different for how much you prefer one or the other. Okay, so this is where I talk about the job families, the SSR ratio. Scrolling down, so these are overall families and kind of job clusters. And I have scales for each. I'm going to go down to the specific types, so most popular occupations. This is where they look at your percentage of the type in this given occupation, versus the entire general population. So these are top 24. And again, this is not the best career exploration tool. So if these aren't hitting the mark, not a big concern from my point of view. So that's a look at the Myers-Briggs career report, what it would look like for you. And I will jump back over. Well, I know the next part actually is going to be, so I'll stay here on the sharing. Is going to be talking about whenever you're interested, and I'll just do this briefly, whenever you're interested in researching any specific career that comes up on one of these assessments, or if it just pops into your head, or it's something you've always been interested in looking into, what was Jane Samples? So I can pick an option here to look up for her report. Number 1, craft artist. Let's see, Forrester's in the top 5. That's interesting. I'll look that up. On the Occupational Outlook Handbook. So what is the Occupational Outlook Handbook? It is the Bureau of Labor Statistics kind of database for jobs and job clusters, and helps you research careers of interest to you. And how does it get its name? The Outlook Handbook. It forecasts how a specific career is going to grow in the next several years. Is it in a decline? Is it holding steady? Is it growing much faster than the average? So this is a great researching tool. It's a www.bls.gov/OOH. So that stands for Bureau of Labor Statistics. Occupational Outlook Handbook is OOH. So I'm going to search the handbook here for Jane Sample being a forester. And it comes up top 1, conservation scientists and foresters. This one's nice because it has a little video, which I don't think would work well if I ran it here, but it's cool to see that that one has that. So it has a summary of each of these sections. What do these people do? What is the environment like being a forester? How do you become one? What is the pay? What is the job outlook? So a general idea of what they do is being a scientist in the forest. And we're in helping forests grow and helping them be healthy, but you can look at specific duties here. Work environment, I'm going to say a lot of it's outside, and a lot of it's probably going to be in lab. But you can see here specifically how to become one. So what's required? They typically need a bachelor's degree in forestry or a related field. Important skills and qualities to have. So this is really nice when, if you're putting together a resume and you don't have a specific job listing, you can say, hey, I need to make sure I'm highlighting these skills on my resume: analytical skills, critical thinking skills, decision-making, management, physical stamina, speaking skills. What is the pay like? Very important part. And it shows life scientists, conservation scientists, grouping them with foresters specifically also, so you can see median annual wages. The most current stats they have is from May of 2016, which is common. It takes a while to, aggregate all this information. And what is the outlook? One of the other important parts for this person, Jane Sample, interested in forestry. They're projected to grow 6% up to 2026, which is about as fast as the average for all occupations. You can look at local information. Similar occupations, if you find something that is interesting to you and maybe you don't want to do all the, you don't want to go through all the schooling that's required, or maybe the pay is not high enough for you, you can look at similar occupations. And then more info is nice because they have professional associations that are relevant to help with, that networking side of things, and to see if this is something you actually want to think about pursuing seriously. And so there are a lot of different types of assessments you can do, and especially using this one, you'd want to use it in conjunction with others, especially like a values assessment and an interest assessment if you were using it for career exploration. So let me be specific there. If it's just something you're doing to kind of figure out, more about yourself, and one of the big topics this semester that came from students is, about communicating in the workplace and how it can be difficult to communicate with certain people. How do you communicate with supervisors that are difficult to work with, or colleagues that are difficult to work with? So from a career count standpoint, this is one of the things that I would highlight with the MBTI type assessment, is that just understanding that people, process information differently is, probably one of the reasons why someone is difficult for you to communicate with, is so you're probably coming from very different styles. And while you might not necessarily know that person's type, you probably have an idea that they're different from your type. So just one of the things to keep in mind when you're trying to tackling that difficult communication in the workplace topics. And so these are different types. One, under social media assessments, I list those old fun Facebook quizzes that have been taking a real hit the last a couple of weeks. So, just as a disclaimer there, people take those for fun if they're on Facebook. I'm not saying you should do them. I'm saying if you do them, they can be used for fun, not for anything else. And it's a problem when people that create these say they're using it for one purpose, and then it turns out unethically they're using it for something else. So just buyer beware on that one. Nothing is free. That brings us to the end. And like I said, if you want a more detailed report about your type, you can send me an email there, cmiller66@wsu.edu. I will stick around for some questions if there are any. And there's my phone number and the career support link if you are looking at if you're interested in career counseling. And there's the blog where I post information about events like this and other career development topics. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I will pass it on over to Caitlin.
Thanks, Chris. And if anyone has questions, please put those in the chat now. One question is, do these type distributions changed based on culture or country, or were the percentage types across kind of the human population for the data that's available?
Right. It's absolutely different across cultures. But it is interesting. It's this MBTI specifically, I know, has been translated into 20 different languages. So it is widely used throughout different cultures. But, if you think about how, we process information, how we think about things, if you look at a collectivistic culture versus an individualistic culture, it's going to be very different. And things are, that population distribution is going to be very different too. That is a U.S. distribution of types. So yeah, that's a great question. It is going to vary greatly with different cultural groups.
Thank you. And then another question is, is what is used in some employer tests? For example, if you have to take a test on basically personality traits beforehand as you fill out your application, is this the same thing that's being used there?
It is. It could be similar to those. I've done those. I know what you mean. It is, because this is not it's trait, or it's type, not trait, is one of the sayings for the Myers-Briggs. It really is. It's highly discouraged. That's what I'm trying to get out. It's highly discouraged for an employer to use this as kind of a screener for hiring. It can be fun to use, as a group building, team building activity, but for the purposes of hiring, the MBTI manual highly discourages it because it's not a measurement of ability. It's a measurement of preference, what you prefer, not, what you're good at.
Thank you so much, Chris. And it looks like that's all the questions we have right now. If anyone does have questions, please get those in the chat now. Otherwise, I would appreciate it if you would take a short survey to let us know what you thought of tonight's program and what you would like to learn about in the future, whether from Chris and on career development or in general. And you can take that survey at connections.wcu.edu/event survey, and I'll put that link into the chat now. Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you, Chris, for sharing all the great information.